Hello everybody, I want to go over a video that describes how to complete a mock advertisement that you're then going to use to create a mock advertisement of your own for the client that you're choosing to work with. So I'm going to try to do this quickly with the hope of making a short video, and then you can always kind of pause it and take your time as you go through if you want to slow down what we're doing. So the first thing that I'm going to do is create a new page, and so I don't want to work in pixels, I want to work in inches. I'll note at this point that I'm working on a PC versus a Mac. The visuals might be a bit different, but the settings should basically be the same. So I'm going to make this 8.5 inches wide by 11 inches tall. I'll give it a good resolution. 72 is fine. I think the settings on the Macs in the campus room are 300, so we'll do that. But 8.5 by 11 is the main thing to do. So I'm creating a new blank canvas here. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to do Control 0 or Command 0, kind of zooms into a appropriate size. All right, so we're going to work with this as kind of a background. And what I want to do first, as we did in class, is create a shape using this kind of shape tool right here. I'm going to make a rectangle. The color of that will be dictated by this square here. I want it to kind of be a gray color, so let's click here and do OK here. Hopefully the settings are correct. I had to adjust mine to make sure that it did fill it with a particular color, which this is, no fill. This has a color, which is a range of ways you can indicate the color, and then I had to make sure this was off for mine. But what I'm going to do is just make a rectangle color, a rectangle shape, taking up about this much of my canvas. I don't need this properties table there. The next thing I want to do is bring the letter A in from our Artifact Coffee logo. And so again, the way that you want to bring in an image is to simply open that file once you're in Photoshop. So I'm going to open up this artifact picture that I'd posted to Moodle. Now you'll note that up here we have these two different tabs, right? So this is on, letter A is on this tab. So what I want to do is cut out that shape. I'm going to use what we used in class, which is this polygon lasso tool. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here at the bottom. You see I've got this little line that's following me. I'll click again at the top, and then I'll click here. And I'm just going to click quickly around the letter A, and that'll make a selection that'll then tell Photoshop to cut out or delete everything that is outside that selection. So you see as I get close to where I start, you see that little 0 pop up, or that circle pop up by my mouse. That closes this. Now I've got to tell it to select the inverse or the opposite of what I just selected, which is all this stuff. And if I delete, I think I'll get an error, because what I have to do first is make sure that I turn this background, which is locked. I'm going to double click there and hit OK. Now it's a layer. All right, now I do delete, it gets rid of it. I'll click here one time in that space to get rid of that selection. I still have this space in the middle here, so I'm going to make a quick little selection and get rid of that. I'm going to double click to close that and then hit delete. And I'm going to click in the middle and get rid of that selection. All right, now I'll go to the move tool, and what I'm going to do is click up here and pull this off of that top and move it over. Now when I click on the actual A with the move tool and I drag it, I don't see it right away, but when I let go, it makes a copy of it here inside. Now again, the way you can resize something, and we'll use it to do different things in other assignments, is up here, click the Show Transform Controls box, and that'll allow me to resize this. I'm going to hold down the Shift key on my keyboard, then I'm going to click, and that'll keep the dimensions the same so it doesn't get distorted. Now Photoshop is still thinking, so I have to set the new size, say yes, I'm done working. I can double click on that letter A, or if I click on any other tool, it'll ask me apply the transformation, which means do you want to change the size? And I'll say apply, so now it's done, it's happy. So again, you can always move it using the arrow keys on your keyboard, or you can click and use your mouse. All right, so I've got that there. I could just delete this. I don't need this anymore, but I can also put that back on this tab. All right, the next thing that I want to do is bring in this other image, this coffee image. All right, so I open that up. So now you got 3 tabs working, within Photoshop. You don't need this letter A. I can delete this letter A, get rid of it. Oh, no. So here we've got this coffee image. So I want to move this into this big white space. Now this is a background. I can't really work with it the way I want. So I'm going to double click on the background, hit OK, and now it's a layer and it's not locked. That move tool is selected. I'm going to click the tab here and I'm going to pull, drag it off of that top line. And then I can click anywhere on this image and I'm just going to drag and let go and put it here. Okay, so we don't need this anymore. I'm going to close that, and I don't want to save it. Okay, so now we've just got one tab open. What I want to do is kind of start this here and then make it a lot larger. I'm going to hold down Shift on my keyboard. I'm going to click that top corner, and I'm going to move this just until it covers that very top space. Again, I have to set the new size. I'm just going to double click on the picture, and you see the resolution gets a little bit sharper. Okay, then we should take off transform controls, and we can see we've got this nice little image. We see this nice picture of coffee being poured. We've got this letter A here. On this side here, we've got these different layers. All right, so you can always, to make it easier for yourself, if you kind of double click on this, you can label things. So I'll call this, I don't know, letter A. And that way I know that this is the letter A tab. This tells you it's a rectangle. This one's kind of more obvious what it is. But what I think I want to do is actually, I'm going to click on Show Transform Controls. I think I need to make this a little bit smaller if I'm going to write and double click right underneath of it effectively. So again, I'm going to use my text tool. I'm just actually going to click one time, and the color of my text will be dictated by the color of the top. So it's gray, so it's going to blend in too much. So I'm going to make sure that I'm writing here in black. So now that color is black up here, and so that my text should be black. So I'll write and it's really, really small, unfortunately, but I'll write a coffee experience like, and then I'll do return, and I'll do no other ... Okay, so using my mouse, I can highlight this tiny little text, and I can at least go up here and make it a little bit larger to a size that seems appropriate. It can't go much larger than 36, so 48 is too big. Let's just go 40 and hit enter. And that looks pretty good. Bold seems okay. I could always change the type of font, but I'm not too worried about that. So again, using the move tool, we can move this text like we want. Something to note, just like you can make a picture larger, when you've got the move tool selected, right? So you can't type or can't change the words, but I can hold down Shift. I can make it larger. Oh, I can make this larger just like I'm making a picture larger. So that's another way you can change the exact, I'll double click it, the size of your words. I'll use the text tool again. I'll click here and I'll just write artifact coffee. All right, so this is probably a little bit bigger than I want. So I'm going to triple click, highlight it all, and make it a little smaller. Maybe, I don't know. That seems about a good size. And then, oh, I wanted italics, but I guess I don't have italics. That's okay. Where is it? Here we go. Calligraphy. That looks pretty. Okay, so we've got artifact coffee. It's maybe still a little bit big. And let's make that a little bit smaller. Okay, so I'm going to click on the move tool. That way I can actually just use my keyboard. I use the arrows to move this very slowly. All right, and I'll get rid of Show Transform Controls. All right, so maybe we want that darker, but there we go. Very quickly, we've made this little mock advertisement. It's a coffee experience like no other. Artifact coffee. We've got this nice image, and there we go. All right, so this is something that I'll want you to be able to do on your own, and you'll use the same kind of strategy to make a mock advertisement for your own client, using an image, putting a space here to write some copy, and finding an appropriate logo.